I analyzed the US weather for the last 30 days, and it was crazy. Let's check it out. Hey guys, Dr. Fergus Keating here with weathermapping.com. Today we're going to be checking out 6 maps that summarize US weather over the last 30 days. We'll start with the raw variables, total precipitation in inches, average temperature and minimum temperature in Fahrenheit. Then we're going to shift to some context maps. Maximum temperature departure from normal, minimum temperature departure from normal, and precipitation expressed as a percentage of normal. I'm going to go map by map with a quick regional breakdown, and I'm going to call out that one extreme value from each map along the way. We'll start with raw precipitation totals in inches. The clearest wet signal is on the far northwest coast, where repeated systems have stacked up meaningful rainfall over the month. You'll also see a kind of a secondary wet corridor across parts of the southeast into nearby interior areas where the totals add up steadily rather than one big burst. In contrast, a broad dry zone runs across from the interior southwest through the central plains where totals stayed light and many locations only picked up one or two small events. The northeast is more mixed. Some pockets did okay, but it's not a dominant wet pattern overall. The highest 30-day precipitation totals reach roughly 11 inches along the far Pacific Northwest coastal region. Now we'll shift to average daytime highs across the month. This gives a cleaner read than single daytime spikes, which we can look at in a different video. The southern tier sits warm overall, with the warmest average highs concentrated from the desert southwest into the south central US. The southeast is also consistently mild to warm, but generally not the hottest part of the country on a monthly average basis. Across the northern tier, average highs drop off fast, especially from the northern plains through the upper Midwest into the northeast, where the month skewed cool in terms of daytime temperatures. The west coast stays relatively moderate compared to the interior, with less extreme day-to-day swings. The warmest average daytime highs were in around the low 80s across the far southern tip of Texas. Next is the average overnight lows, which tell us how warm or cold the nights were on average across the full 30 days. The Gulf Coast and Florida hold on to the mildest nights, with the warmest average lows clustered along the far southern peninsula into nearby coastal areas. Moving north, we see a steady gradient into cooler nighttime averages across the Mid-South, the Midwest, and the northern tier. The coldest average lows are focused in the far north central of the US into the upper Midwest, where nights stayed consistently cool rather than just brief extremes. The interior west shows cooler pockets tied to the higher terrain, but the biggest cold core for the monthly average lows is clearly in that northern interior. The coldest average overnight lows were near the single digits across the far northern tier of the upper Midwest. Now we move into departures, how unusual the temperatures were versus normal. For daytime highs, there's a strong west versus east split. Much of the west and the central US runs warmer than normal, with a strong positive departure centered in the interior west and into parts of the central to northern plains, while the eastern US leans cooler than normal overall, especially from the interior northeast down into parts of the mid-Atlantic, where negative departures are more widespread and persistent. This isn't just a single cold snap, it's looking at the month-long tilt in its pattern. Daytime highs peak near plus 17 degrees Fahrenheit versus normal in the central Rockies region. Overnight departures tell a similar story, but they sharpen the contrast in places. The west again runs warmer than normal at night, with a notable warm signal in the Rockies and parts of the interior west, where nights stayed elevated compared to what's typical. In the east, overnight lows were cooler than normal across a broad area, with the strongest negative departures concentrated from the Appalachians into the northeast. You can also see a cool night signal extending into parts of the southeast, including down the peninsula, meaning some areas may have had relatively mild absolute temperatures, but still ended up cooler than their usual baseline for this time of year. Overnight lows ran as much as plus 15 degrees versus normal in the Central Rockies region. Finally, percent of normal puts the precipitation totals in context. The biggest story is the underperforming middle of the country, a large corridor from the Southern Rockies through the Central Plains into parts of mid-Mississippi Valley finish well below normal, with multiple areas in a strongly dry category for the month. On the opposite end, the northern tier has above normal pockets, especially around the upper Great Lakes region, where totals outpaced typical monthly precipitation. The coastal northwest is also generally favorable on a percent of normal given how wet it is, while the southeast is mixed. Some areas were near normal because their typical totals were already high even if it felt wet. The driest pockets finished roughly 5% of normal in far southern Texas. The wettest pocket was northwest Michigan on Lake Superior, which was between 100 and 200% of normal. If you like this video and you'd like to see more monthly weather breakdowns, please subscribe to the Weather Mapping YouTube channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Laters.
Weathermapping.com